Emergency pod. Andy Liu, my man. The Warriors getting a little Friday news dump in.
Are we the only show in the basketball universe that will do an emergency pod on Dwight Howard in 2023? I believe we are.
And Usman Garuba. Yeah, it's funny because I wasn't sure what they're going to do with the last two roster spots. Seems like they're just going to take it into camp, and we get the Dwight news. Scale of 1 to 10, how surprised were you when you heard Dwight's name?
Kind of surprised, like 8.5.
Okay,
it feels
was
like
it
the
Chris
Warriors...
Paul level surprised?
No, look, man,
that was a 10.
That was 15. You know, on a level of 1 to 100 on happiness, that was a 15 as well. It's a little shocking because you and I sat here for 2 years. Even when they won the championship, we sat here and we're like, dude, the Warriors at least need a big to get them through the regular season. At least, even if he sucks, right? Even if he's just 7 feet, he's a stiff. They need someone to just get some minutes in there. Just an innings eater guy. They didn't do it 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. They won a championship. Didn't do it last year. I don't know if that's why they lost. I don't think so. But Looney and Draymond are tired. It feels like all the time. And so I thought they should this offseason again. They didn't. They got Sarge, who isn't early a big, and now it comes that it feels like it. If you throw in Dwayne Dedmon's name, kind of some of these other guys, Tony Bradley, it feels like now they're looking for that type of big. I'm a little surprised.
They're definitely seeing their options. One thing that's noticeable is there's a lot of guys floating unsigned who you would think would be on an NBA team. Now, you don't know. Dwayne Dedmon's kind of a borderline NBA player these days. Dwight Howard, for all we know, could be too. Looked great with the Lakers in a role a couple of years ago. Then he's in Taiwan. He is 37. So, he'll be 38 during the season. It might just be, over for him.
Right.
But I think what's interesting to me is I thought, okay, Saric is the perfect third big because his skill set is different than Draymond and Looney. He'll bang and he'll rebound, but he can shoot and a little more offensive minded. So it's a nice compliment. And then they draft Trace Jackson Davis, who probably won't see a single minute in the playoffs, but he's a 4-year college guy, a little older. I thought he could fill the role of, 10 minutes here, play a game there, do some of that regular season minute stuff. And I figured they'd want to get a big wing for the last roster spot. I thought they'd want they tried with Andre. It looks like his body just would not allow it to happen. I thought maybe a Rudy Gay, a Juan Toscano Anderson, those type of guys. So it's interesting to me they're going with the traditional 5, honestly. And maybe that's the right move. Maybe if Dwight still has something left in the tank, if he allows you to cut Draymond and Looney's minutes, I don't know, 10% on the season, 15%, something like that, and they're fresher in the playoffs, to your point, that's worth it. The other thing I'll throw out about Dwight is if he has anything left in the tank, he's still a super high IQ defender. I could see them throwing Dwight in a playoff matchup where they need someone to buy them some minutes against Jokic. Yeah. But let's be honest, JaMychal Green would have never been able to do that. James Wiseman would have never been able to do that. And it's not like it's your first choice to go there, but it's nice to know you have a veteran who has a better chance at kind of riding a 5 to 10 minute spell and not everything falling apart.
We're a long ways from him being back in the NBA, right? It's been a few years. So I'm with you. I'm drinking
the Kool-Aid, baby.
I am too, actually. On this specific move, I am too. Like, if they make it, we don't know if they'll make it, right? Maybe it's non-guaranteed. Maybe he's on the team for a month and he's gone. Maybe it's just a training camp invite, all that type of stuff, right? But this is key here. Yep, I was just going to get to this. So our
guy, Jason Dumas, official Light Years insider. He just doesn't know it. Source, Dwight Howard will arrive in the Bay on Monday. He'll work out on Tuesday and Wednesday. Also has meetings with Kerr and Dunleavy. Steve is most interested in Dwight's mindset. Of course he is. Acceptance of role and desire to be a good vet for the young guys. Meetings will be important.
So that to me was the biggest thing that Steve sentence there. What is Dwight Howard? Is he Is he here okay with not playing 6 in a row games, right? Is he here just okay being the rim running threat that Chris Paul probably kind of needs more so than maybe some of these other guys? Like, I don't know if he needs a Looney as much as he needs someone like Dwight Howard. Is he okay being a locker room guy? I don't know if he's always been a great locker room guy, but is he ready to be that level of like a Damian Lee or JTA? I don't know, and I feel like that's probably why they're flying him in, just to say like, hey, like the other stuff, I feel like they know what he's going to be good at. If he's healthy, he's going to be good enough to do those things. But if he's not willing to buy in, what's the point, right?
And it's worth calling out, when he went to the Lakers, he washed out of the league because he was unwilling to accept he was no longer a star. And then on the Lakers, he kind of bought into being kind of a goon.
The Rockets and then the Lakers, right?
Yeah. On the 2020, bubble AAU champs, he played a nice role defensively there for them. But it was worth noting, he was in the rotation. Like, he was the backup big. Every game he played 15, 20 minutes. On the Warriors, they're kind of going to ask him to be like Juan Toscano-Anderson, which is, to your point, you'll play, and maybe we'll go 6 games in a row and we're just going to DNP you. Nothing you did wrong. We just got guys we want to play over you instead. Are you okay with being, the 15th man on the bench, where there'll be periods of time where maybe Looney's tired and he gets a little more run, and there'll be periods of time where he gets no run? He never really had that role. And it's just a lot easier to ask someone like a Juan Toscano-Anderson, who's G League grinder, doing anything to stay in the NBA, to play that role, than someone like Dwight, who's probably a Hall of Famer. I mean, he should be a Hall of Famer for sure.
Yes,
to play that role. Yeah, he's a clear Hall of Famer. Well, you never know how the politics play out, but on playing career, he's a deserved Hall of Famer. So that'll be the interesting thing to see how it plays out, because this is one of those times I really agree with Steve here. You don't want Dwight Howard sulking that he's not getting minutes, like doing what kind of Boogie Cousins did back in the day with the Warriors, upset about his role. Because like, if that's what it's going to be, you'd rather just find just get Juan, basically, like, even though they're different positions.
Or Deadman, Derek Favors, dude, like, what the hell is it? Just get some of those guys.
Sure.
Right? What's the point?
Sure. I think the best version of Dwight is better than those guys, but I don't know. He also played last year in Taiwan. I don't know if he's lost one step too many. I know he's good for Taiwan. So,
well, I mean, he was in the freaking 3-point shooting contest. I don't think he's doing anything in Taiwan that would actually matter in terms of him being good in the NBA now. The other thing I think too is now if you're throwing in Dwight Howard in a locker room with Draymond Green and Chris Paul, look, man, I'm a vibes guy. I say that every other pod. You're playing with fire. You are playing with fire.
Yeah, the Warriors told Draymond, we'll resign you, and then we're going to sign every player who will actually punch you back. So I feel like that's the bargain they made with him. It's like, we'll give you the extension, but you're not getting away with that again. We're bringing in dudes who'll stand up to you a little bit. I still think Chris Paul is the most likely one, which is,
I think that'll actually help the
smallest guy on the roster. It will. It will. You can't just have a guy willy-nilly punching his teammates.
Well, like Chris Paul deserves to get punched too, as much as Draymond does deserve to get punched. So, it works out perfectly. Those guys can double knock each other out with Dwight Howard in the back, filming the whole thing. I still like the move. I think it would be funny. I think it actually would be somewhat helpful. I like it.
Low risk. We'll know next week if it was all smoke and no one buys it, if they, politely say they're passing on him. And if they buy his song and dance about, I just want to help the team, I don't care about my minutes or anything like that, then they'll probably.
That's what it is. It's Dwight selling himself. It's like, can he do the song and dance of like,
is Steve going to buy it?
Yeah.
Is Steve going to buy it? Is Dunn, I really think it comes down to Kerr.
Always.
We know he's passed on players in the past, and honestly, more often than not, he's correct. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get past Steve Kerr's bullshit detector, because that's really what we're talking about here.
Not happening.
No. Another piece of news: the Warriors just prime news. We're starving for content that we're doing this right now. Signed Usman Garuba to a 2-way contract. We were wondering what they were going to do with the 2-ways. Quinones has one of them. And they bring in Garuba, and got to bring friend of the show, number one Rockets fan that torments Warrior fans. I'll put him that way.
Twice in a month.
I'll get Roosh on here. Technically, it was like 6 weeks ago we had him on, but yeah, we'll have Roosh back on. As Roosh texted me saying, I am the foremost Usman Garuba expert. And as much as I enjoyed what I've seen, I simply cannot claim I can hang with the Garuba knowledge on that level. So I got to bring you in. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. It's a Garuba emergency pod. It's time.
Wow. This is mid-September NBA content, right?
Wow. We're so desperate.
I guess so. Let's start with this. I think most Warrior fans remember the name from the draft because he was 2021's next Draymond Green. There's one of them in every draft. And, shocker, most of them don't turn out to be Draymond Green because it's an unfair expectation. But I guess given what you saw of him with the Rockets over the years and where he is, give us kind of like the high-level scouting report here.
Yeah, so look, I'm a big Garuba guy. I'm actually really pissed off that they let him go. He's not a great player. He's got a lot of polishing to do. He's raw, but he's got so much energy. He's got a motor. He's got a 7'2" wingspan. He's 6'8". He will D up. He will chase a ball. He'll jump on the floor for a ball. So look, this is where he's most useful. The Rockets would run this lineup. He'd come off the bench. They would run him next to Tari Eason and KJ Martin. The Rockets broadcast nicknamed it the Goon Squad, right? And nice. Yeah, if you go look at the numbers on that lineup for at least the first half of the season, because there was a point in the season where Steven Silas, who is thankfully no longer the head coach of the Houston Rockets, he basically changed up the rotations and kind of screwed with the magic that lineup had. But if you look at the numbers, I don't know them off the top of my head, but the net ratings and all that stuff with that lineup, it was like the most, NBA ready basketball that the Rockets were playing all of last season, which says a lot. I mean, they got after it. And the reason I bring that up is because in the context of the Warriors, the reason it worked with Garuba was that he was flanked by long, rangy wings. Tari Eason, 7'2" wingspan. KJ Martin, not great defensively, but high energy, extremely athletic, and they just kind of complemented each other very well. So what he's able to do is he can guard any position. He will look awkward at times doing it, so don't get fooled by that. He looks very awkward. A lot of people get turned off by how awkward he is, right? He's like laterally slower than you might expect, but he recovers well. He does things like, he'll reach when he shouldn't reach. He's got to get that coached out of him. He'll do some things that might not allow him to see the floor under Steve Kerr. So that is one thing to look out for. But if he does actually see the floor and he's flanked by, Wiggins and Clay, maybe even Dre, Loon, whoever you guys put him out there with, if you put him out there with guys that can complement what he can do, man, he's a difference maker. And then the two most underrated aspects of what he does, passing. He's actually an excellent passer. Like, I don't mean to overstate it, but he will get the ball at the elbow and he understands that cut's coming, or he understands he'll get an offensive rebound and immediately kick it out to an open shooter. He just keeps the ball moving, right? He's really underrated in the short roll. He can't do anything with the ball. He can't score the ball, driving to the basket. He will like miss a layup. You've seen the clip where he throws a pass and it hits like the backboard and bounces back to him. He does a lot of stuff like that, but he will get a rebound and kick it. He'll get the ball and just make the right play. He'll get the ball on the elbow and hit the cutter on a bounce pass. Underrated passer. And then he's actually an underrated three-point shooter. His corner three is kind of money. He shot, I think 40% from three last season. He was 24 of 59. What's interesting is if you go look at the numbers, he was, I think, 0 for his last 12. So he was actually 24 of 47 at one point on the season.
Over 50, yeah.
Over 50. And he was
small sample.
Yeah, small sample, but you have to remember it was in the context of the Rockets. They don't get open shots, and he wasn't used like tactically, right? He wasn't like parked in the corner. He would just kind of take a shot if he had it. And then he was 1 of 19 to end the season. So on one hand, you could argue, okay, he started hot and then he regressed to the mean. That's probably true. At the same time, at one point, he was like 23 of 40 from three. That's nothing to scoff at. You don't accidentally go 23 for 40. That means that there's some touch there. So he's a good small ball five. He needs someone to kind of toughen him up just a tiny bit, which I think Draymond can do. But man, on a team like the Rockets that had a lot of problems, his problems were magnified, and a lot of fans said, "Yo, this guy is not an NBA player." But you put him on a team that's bona fide and just needs like little tweaks and little pieces here and there, like the Warriors, I think he can be valuable.
I wonder, you bring up the passing. I wonder that's where he's going to fit in with this team. It sounds like if it's one NBA thing he's good at, it's defense. So maybe I'll throw that one aside, say like he's good enough to play defense. But if he's able to pick up the offense the Warriors run, which is the fucking run around and dribble handoff and motion offense stuff that they're the only team to run, then I would think that he's actually probably going to play, especially if Dwight Howard isn't on this team, that he'll probably get some like Ty Jerome-esque, hey, come up from the G League type of minutes, right? Like let's just JTA a couple years ago, just come up and play some minutes. And that'll be pretty fascinating because they have a guy, Trace Jackson Davis. There's no reason for you to know who he is because he's a second round Warriors pick, but he seems like a similar type of player where he's just not enough offense probably, but can pass and defend a little bit and energy type of big. That I assume that's probably where Garuba's at, right?
Would you say, and just to piggyback on that, it's clearly the offense why the Rockets cut bait with Garuba. I know they just ran into like a numbers issue with just having too many guys, too many picks, and you can only have 15 guys on the roster. But offense, like he doesn't have a clear role. Correct,
he doesn't. He will just do a lot of dribble handoffs. He will also set screens at like a historic rate. Like we would jokingly call him like the leader in screens per minute or screens per second or something. The dude will set like 4 screens in one offensive play. He'll just come set a screen and then roll, and then come back and set a screen and then roll.
God, this sounds like me.
Yeah,
not a great offensive player.
But that's the thing. If you just give him the role on offense, which like the Warriors, you use your bigs to have guys run around, set pin downs, set baseline screens, and pop someone open.
To get the guards open, yeah.
Yeah, and he can make those passes. Unfortunately, what the Rockets did was, watch a certain individual who I will not name by name dribble the ball in isolation. So Garuba was a little out of sorts there. But
you guys have like 8 of those, to be clear. But.
Yeah, we do. Go Rockets. But if he was if he was used correctly, he can, like I said, he can actually be pretty useful. I don't want to like make too much of like assist numbers, but he played a limited amount of time. He barely played, and he had 8 games of 3 dimes or more, and then like probably 16 or so with 2 or more. And you got to think like, you might scoff at that, like 2 or 3 dimes. What is that? But in the context of playing like 13, 12 minutes a game in a discombobulated, shitty offense, like, I mean. It was actually kind of pretty sometimes when he passed the ball.
What I also
like you.
I like that. And what I also like about this is he's 21, same age as Moody and Kuminga, same draft class. It's basically a free shot at a first round pick who just kind of got squeezed out in a numbers scenario who might fit what the Warriors do. If it doesn't work, it's not their draft pick. It's not like devastating like you missed on Wiseman or whatever it may be. If it doesn't work, whatever, you cut bait, you move the other way. But if it does work, you've just added a young player who you can theoretically re-sign for cheap and keep in your system for a few years. And I mean, you can look at the Warriors roster. We're talking about a bunch of dudes who are all pushing 40. They need to find some young players who can contribute in some way or another. Moses Moody came on at the end of last year. We spent all offseason kind of like, will Kuminga take that step? They don't need them all to. They need like 1 to 2 guys to be able to prove they can provide some form of energy.
Yeah, and he's got energy, like for sure. He will give you energy. And he's an underrated shot blocker at times. He's not like, someone's coming at the rim and he rises up and blocks them, but he'll chase down. He'll do a chase down block. He'll do some weak side blocks. He's got a sneaky wingspan. One thing to consider, he's not a plus athlete. He doesn't get up or high.
Oh, perfect Warrior.
Yeah, if people, a lot of
ground bound big, he's going to be a success.
Oh yeah,
yes. He is a ground bound big. A lot of Rockets fans kind of clowned him for not being like in great shape, or at least he doesn't look like he's in great shape. That I don't think his conditioning was a practical issue. He just doesn't like look like he's in great shape.
Atypical body shape for a basketball player.
Classic.
I mean,
classic Euro,
Draymond.
Yeah. So, but I mean, look, he's high energy. The motor's there. He doesn't stop. He will guard anybody. And there were times, man, where I remember specifically in a game where he was guarding Trae Young. They kept switching him on to Trae Young against the Hawks, and he was holding his own. So he can do that, you know. But again, he will look awkward. He might chop his feet. He might come like this close to getting his ankles broken and then recover and block a shot. He might reach at the 3-point line and get blown by. Those types of things happen.
Little loony-esque. Listen, before I want to ask you one more. You gonna be a Warriors fan this season?
I think so. I got a lot of hate.
I saw your tweet. I like it.
Yeah, Rockets fans are tweeting at me like, yo, what the hell's wrong with you? But look, I love Chris Paul, and I'm a big Garuba guy. Just for you guys to know. You know the song, you know the Jason Derulo song, or the little meme where the guy's like, Jason Derulo.
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah. So now I'll put this in your head and you won't be able to unhear it, but do that with his name. Usman Garuba.
Oh God.
So but no, man, he should be a difference maker in limited minutes, I think, at the very least.
Welcome to the light side. Welcome to the good. Welcome to the good.
Hey,
Enjoy.
I need Steph in a USA jersey at the Olympics.
You'll get it.
You'll
get it.
So, but yeah.
Roosh, appreciate you. Have a good weekend, my man.
Thank you.
All right.
That was awesome.
I'm into it. We'll get out of here on that. That's your emergency pod for the weekend, guys.